Let me take you into the subtle but powerful difference between attention and admiration. Too many older men confuse the two. A young woman may look at you with curiosity. She may engage you in conversation. She may even lean in a little closer when you speak. But that doesn't automatically mean she admires you. Attention is easy to get. You can buy it with a nice suit. You can spark it with a witty remark. You can even stumble into it simply because you're different from what she's used to. But admiration, that is something entirely different. Admiration is earned. It is born out of respect, consistency, and the quiet authority that comes when you truly know who you are. The danger is when you start mistaking politeness, curiosity, or even momentary fascination for something deeper. That is when men overstep, when they start performing, chasing, or believing that every glance means desire. In those moments, you risk looking needy, even foolish, because you are reading signals through the lens of what you wish they meant rather than what they truly are. A young woman may give you her attention because you are novel, because she is curious about your world, because you carry an energy that feels unfamiliar to her. But that is not the same as admiration. Admiration comes when she sees that your words match your actions, that your confidence is grounded and not a mask, that you do not need her attention to validate your worth. So the next time a young woman looks your way, don't rush to assume it's admiration. Let her curiosity be just that, without trying to inflate it into something more. Hold yourself with the dignity that says, her attention may pass, but my self-respect will remain. One of the greatest mistakes an older man can make with a younger woman is trying to compete with her world. Her world is fast. It's buzzing with trends, with music, with digital rhythms that shift overnight. It's filled with a kind of energy that belongs to her time, to her generation. You start trying to step into that space as if you belong there. You lose what makes you valuable. You cannot dance with her youth by pretending you are still in yours. That's not attractive. It's insecure. When an older man tries to dress like her peers, speak their slang, or mimic the way they move through the world, what he really communicates is fear. Fear of aging, fear of irrelevance, fear of not being enough. But what a young woman is truly drawn to is not your ability to keep up with her social media feeds or match her late night chaos. What she is drawn to is the calm, the steadiness, the wisdom that only comes with lived years. Your strength lies in the things she doesn't yet have: perspective, emotional maturity, stability. She can find excitement in her own world. What she cannot easily find is someone who has already walked through storms and knows how to stay centered. The power of being older is that you no longer have to audition for youth. You offer something far richer: depth, self-assurance, a presence that doesn't need to compete. So don't step into her world trying to play her game. Invite her into yours, where pace slows down, where meaning runs deeper, where confidence is not loud but unshakable. That is where true connection begins. And that is where she will recognize your value. So many older men fall into the trap of thinking that the only way to capture a young woman's interest is by showering her with gifts, flashing their status, or leaning heavily on financial power. They believe that money is the currency of attraction, that success will automatically translate into desire. But here's the truth: if the connection is built on transactions, then it will always remain transactional. And the moment someone else offers more, the foundation crumbles. When you lead with money, what you are really saying is, I don't trust that who I am is enough. You reduce yourself to a wallet, a sponsor, a provider of material things, instead of a man with depth presence. Yes, generosity has its place, and yes, stability is attractive, but it is not what sustains respect. A woman may accept your gifts. She may even enjoy the comfort you provide. But admiration will never be bought. Admiration comes from your character, from the way you carry yourself, from how you handle challenges, how you treat people, and how grounded you are in your own value. The danger is not in giving. It is in believing that giving is the only way to matter. When you try to compensate with money or status, you create a silent contract where her role is to reward your spending with attention. That is not love, and it is not even real desire. What truly draws someone closer is when they feel your authenticity, when they sense that you are secure in yourself, when they see that you don't need to purchase their presence to feel significant. Another mistake older men often make is dismissing the perspective of a younger woman, assuming that age alone makes their voice the only one worth hearing. It is easy to fall into the mindset of, I've lived longer, I know better, and to reduce her role to that of a student rather than an equal. But when you do that, you shut down the very connection you're trying to build. Respect is not created by lecturing or dominating a conversation. It is created in dialogue, in the willingness to listen as much as you speak. A younger woman sees the world through a lens you no longer have. Her generation is shaped by different challenges, different technologies, different cultural rhythms. She carries insights you cannot fully grasp because they don't belong to your lived time. And instead of dismissing that, there is power in being curious about it. Listening to her perspective doesn't make you smaller. It makes you wiser. It shows that your confidence is not threatened by her voice, but expanded by it. When an older man silences or patronizes, what he communicates is not authority, but insecurity. But when he listens, genuinely listens, he creates space for trust and respect to grow. You don't have to agree with everything she says, but you do have to acknowledge the validity of her experiences. That balance between your maturity and her fresh perspective is what creates real chemistry, not one voice overpowering the other. So remember, wisdom is not about having all the answers. It's about knowing when to speak and when to listen. And sometimes, the most powerful way to show your strength is by giving her the space to be heard. Relationship you're in. One of the most destructive mistakes an older man can make with a younger woman is projecting his insecurities onto her. The fear of aging, the quiet doubt about whether you can still attract, the jealousy that creeps in when you imagine her surrounded by men her own age. All of that, if left unchecked, begins to poison the connection. Instead of showing up as grounded and confident, you place the weight of your inner battles onto her shoulders. The burden of a man's unresolved fears. Jealousy especially can be corrosive. If every time she speaks to someone her age you tense up, question her, or try to control her choices, you stop being the source of strength and start becoming a source of pressure. What begins as attraction quickly turns into suffocation. The same is true when you are constantly seeking reassurance about your relevance, about whether she truly desires you, about whether you can measure up. The more you demand proof, the less attractive you become. Confidence is not about pretending you are untouched by insecurity. It is about owning where you are in life with honesty and dignity. A younger woman doesn't expect you to be 25 again. She expects you to be comfortable in the man you've become. What makes you magnetic is not your ability to erase time, but your ability to embrace it without shame. If you project fear, she will feel it and pull away. But if you project self-acceptance, she will sense the security in your presence. Because the truth is, nothing is more compelling than a man who stands firmly in who he is without needing anyone else to complete or validate him. The greatest mistake an older man can make with a younger woman is forgetting the power of self-respect. In the effort to win her over, many men bend their boundaries, compromise their values, and silence their needs, thinking that by doing so they will secure her approval. But the truth is, the moment you abandon yourself, you lose the very essence of what makes you desirable in the first place. A young woman may test limits, sometimes consciously, sometimes without even realizing it, not out of malice, but simply to see where your line is drawn. If you have no line, if you are willing to sacrifice your standards just to keep her attention, what you communicate is weakness, not strength. Respect in any relationship begins with how you respect yourself. When you hold your frame, When you know what you will and will not tolerate, you are not being rigid. You are showing that your value is not negotiable. That presence creates safety and admiration. On the other hand, when you become desperate for her validation, you step out of your masculine center and place all the power in her hands. What was once attraction turns into imbalance, and imbalance always leads to disconnection. A younger woman does not need you to be perfect, nor does she expect you to cater to her every desire. What she truly notices is whether you live by your own principles, whether you can say no when no needs to be said, and whether your life has direction with or without her. That is what makes you magnetic. Not compliance, but conviction.